20-18, the final score inside Beaver Stadium as Penn State falls to Illinois in 9 overtimes. Mitch Gerber alongside head coach James Franklin. Coach, what's your biggest takeaway from today?
Obviously, offensively, not being able to run the ball. Defensively, having a difficulty stopping the run, obviously, after losing PJ. And then there was a bunch of opportunities for us to win this game that we didn't take advantage of.
As you mentioned, Illinois had success running the ball today. What were they doing successfully?
Well, I think the one thing that they did that gave us issues early on were the heavy sets where they were going 7 offensive linemen in the game, and creating the long edges or going unbalanced that we struggled with.
How do you evaluate Sean Clifford's performance overall?
I thought he played gutsy, but it's hard. One of the things I talked about in the locker room, it is hard to play, and that's not just Sean, that's at a bunch of positions when you're not full go in practice all the time.
9 overtimes, obviously there's a mental fatigue to that side as well. What was the mental standpoint going into overtime through 9 periods?
Yeah, I thought obviously we battled like crazy, but we didn't find a way to get the job done in the end. We got to make sure that we do a great job tonight because we got a heck of a challenge next week.
Coach, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
20-18, the final score here inside Beaver Stadium as Penn State will now take some time, turn the page, as Coach Franklin just mentioned right there, and then take on Ohio State next weekend. We'll get to highlights here in just a second. We will visit with Jesse Lucchetta, a linebacker/defensive end for Penn State University, as Coach Franklin just visited with us here on the Unrivaled Postgame show. Obviously disappointed in the outcome with this one. It was the first time ever in college football history that it went to 9 overtimes. That came into effect back in the 8th overtime period. Once you hit the, I believe it was the 4th overtime period, or the 3rd overtime period rather, sorry, with the new overtime rule in the NCAA landscape, it was one play from the 3-yard line, and that went back and forth until the 9th overtime when ultimately Illinois would convert for the win in this contest. Let's take a look at some of those highlights right now as we await Jesse Lucchetta here in a moment. This is the 3rd overtime period, just as I was talking about. One play from the 3-yard line. You saw right there, Penn State failed to convert on a pass to Sean Clifford just off the back of his fingertips. Same thing for Illinois, just off the fingertips of their wide receiver. And this would go back and forth for 9 different overtime periods. Ultimately, it was Illinois that walked away with the victory in this one. Multiple opportunities, as Coach Franklin mentioned, multiple different opportunities, both offensively and defensively. Defense did a nice job holding up Illinois through 8 different periods before they ultimately converted on the 9th overtime period in this one. Here's the 5th overtime period. Penn State's defense. Ellis Brooks continues to be one of the most dominant linebackers in the country. He broke up a couple of great opportunities for Illinois, as you saw there in the 5th period, and then a shovel pass right here from Sean Clifford to Brenton Strange that was stopped just short of the goal line. And then here it is in the 7th overtime period. Noah Kane comes up just short once again to the 1-yard line. And then here we are in the 7th overtime period. Defensively doing a nice job there. That was Derek Tiangelo with the stop, a big TFL in the backfield at that point in time. And then both teams converting in the 8th overtime period. Illinois first, and then Penn State offensively with Noah Kane getting to that goal line to make it 18-18. And then here we are in the 9th overtime period where this game ended. Sean Clifford attempted pass towards Parker Washington in the back right corner of the end zone, just off the back of his fingertips, and then Illinois would convert in the back of the end zone, and that's where this one went final. 20-18, the final score in this game, as Penn State will now turn their attention towards Ohio State here in just a few moments, and head coach James Franklin is going down to meet with the rest of the media, which will take place down on the field, as it was the homecoming game today, the 101st homecoming game here inside Beaver Stadium, and the 26th all-time meeting between these two programs. As you see head coach James Franklin walking down the tunnel right there, headed towards the field for his media availability. Penn State in overtime is now 8-7 all-time in overtime games, with a 5-5 record inside Beaver Stadium as they fall to Illinois in this contest. Awaiting Jesse Lucchetta, the linebacker for Penn State University, who's coming up here in just a moment. We'll ask him some follow-up questions on what Coach Franklin said. Obviously very disappointed in this outcome, disappointed with the offensive side, disappointed with the outcome as a whole, but interesting note from him on Sean Clifford. Thought he played pretty decent, and obviously this was a gutsy performance from multiple different individuals, including number 40, Jesse Lucchetta, who joins us now live on the Unrivaled Postgame show. And Jesse, obviously not the outcome that you guys wanted as a program, but what do you take away from this one?
we went out there. Kudos to Illinois. It was a good program, well-rounded. We didn't capitalize on the opportunities we had in front of us, on both sides of the ball. We weren't playing complementary football. That's not our DNA. It's not our identity. So it hurts, but there's plenty of football left to be played. We're looking forward to it. We're just gonna have to come back tomorrow. Watch the film, make the corrections, and keep it pushing.
It hurts, and you being one of the leaders inside that locker room, what'd you say to your teammates afterwards?
We're all we got. Like the people in the room are the only people who matter. Although we love our fans and we love the people who support us, we try not to tune into the outside noise. So, the critics are going to say what they want. It doesn't matter. We know what we're capable of. We know what we're going to do the far rest of the season. We're looking forward to the rest of the football we're about to play.
Obviously, this is a disappointing outcome, and it's easy to sit in the locker room and sulk in this, but as you just mentioned, there's a lot of season still left moving forward. So how do you take a mental standpoint or a mental approach starting this evening to be able to flip the page?
It's just the little things. Our film prep and watching today's game, I know that's the first thing I'm going to do. Just trying to find the areas that, we feel that we can improve on. We just critique the little things. That's how I feel we're going to, maximize our opportunity and maximize the opportunity we have collectively as a team moving forward. But we're in a good spot. We all we got, and I love my brother, so there's nobody else I go to war with.
9 overtime periods, the first time that's ever been done in college football history. And you think about the history of college football, it goes back a long, long time. For you guys out there defensively, you put up a heck of a fight down to the final 9th period. What was it like from the mental side of things to be able to go out there from the 3-yard line, starting after that second overtime period, to ultimately come out?
Situational football. It doesn't matter where we're at on the field. We bend, we don't break. We get into the red zone. We like to refer to it as the dead zone. So we tried our best to make sure they weren't going to be able to get into the end zone. We didn't meet that goal, but there's plenty of football left to be played. So I'm looking forward to watching the film and seeing how the guys perform today.
What were some of the changes that you guys tried to make against obviously their running game where they found success?
They found a lot of success in the run game. We just had to chase our keys and win the battle up front. I feel like an area we weren't dominating at the beginning of the game. As the game progressed, I felt as if we started to get better and whatnot. But that's the biggest thing. That's a part of our DNA. We got to be able to stop the run so we can earn the right to pass rush. So.
Jesse, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us on the
Absolutely.
Unrivaled Postgame Show as once again Penn State falls 20-18 in this contest. Visit with head coach James Franklin moments ago. Just talked to Jesse Lucchetta, so if you missed any of that conversation, if you're just tuning in, be sure to scroll back and watch that, as those two had some good comments to make following Penn State's loss to the Illini. As Jesse Lucchetta said, still a lot to play for, and that all starts next week with Ohio State as Penn State hits the road for their matchup with the Buckeyes. That's going to do it for this edition of the Unrivaled Postgame Show. We'll see you next week in Columbus.